Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Disgustingly Resilient podcast, and in today's video we're going to be looking at a tactical deep dive on how to get the most out of our bread and butter unit, those Plague Marines. If you do enjoy the content on this channel, please feel free to leave a like and a subscribe. If you really enjoy the content on the channel, consider becoming a Plague Marine member. It costs $2.99 a month at minimum, and then basically you get access to our Discord. We've got an awesome community, everyone's bouncing ideas, list discussions, all that kind of good stuff, and it's just a really good vibe, and you also get to enter giveaways, etc. But even if you're not interested in that, a like and subscribe goes a long way to helping us. But for now, let's get into this tactical deep dive on how to use Plague Marines. So, first up, what is the strengths of a Plague Marine? Now, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to assume you are capable of reading. I'm not going to sit here and read the entire data sheets here. We can read data sheets, okay? I'm going to talk about the key points in there. Toughness 6 is pretty good. It's not unkillable. However, toughness 6 does mean that you are basically immune to small arms fire of a lot of armies. A lot of armies have a lot of strength 3. We're talking las guns, like radium carbines, for example. That's going to mean that you're going to be wounded on 6s, whereas before at T5 you were wounded on 5s. Now, in addition, this is also a great benefit against a lot of strength 10 weapons that are in the game. Think about things like battle cannons. They're now winning on 3s instead of 2s. You're just a lot harder to double out than you were before because there's a lot of strength 10 weapons in the game. Even look at our own army. We've got our bloat drones, for example, so now we can't double that out. So being strength T6, it's... the best way to put it is, you're not going to be unkillable. However, there's going to be a lot of dice rolls in the game that are affected by this breakpoint. Where you would normally be wounded on 4s, you'd now be wounded on 3s or 5s. Sorry, no, you're wounded on 5s. Where you were wounded on 2s before, now you're wounded on 3s. And where you were wounded on 5s, maybe you're wounded on 6s now. And those dice rolls, they don't make you unkillable. But over the course of the game, it actually takes a fair few more activations to kill these units of Plague Marines than it would before. Whereas before maybe all 5 Marines would die, now only like 3.5 might die, and that 1.5 guys is then able to go and do actions and things like that. So it's not like, oh my god, these Marines are now unkillable, but toughness 6 genuinely does have an impact as long as you keep your expectations in check in what it means for them in terms of survivability. So just bear that in mind. Now, OC2 genuinely matters. When you play with no Plague Marines, and then you play with, I took a list recently with 30 Plague Marines, lots of 5-mans, and a 10-man, you really start to notice how important OC is in this game. Being able to take objectives without having to kill a unit by just standing on it next to them can be massive in terms of getting a primary advantage over your opponent. Not also that, sometimes you'll get charged, only like 3 Marines survive, but that's still 6 OC, and the unit they charge you with is like 5 Terminators. They're only 5. Like, you still hold that objective, and it's a real big deal in terms of primary control, and that's actually makes Plague Marines have a really solid position in terms of shoring up primary or denying your opponent's primary. Now, Plague Marines get tons of special weapons. Every single dude in this army, unit, can take a special weapon. Literally, even the sergeant can take 2. This makes this unit the most powerful battle line in the game, in my opinion, at least one of, because every single guy is the equivalent of like a special weapons unit from another army. So you have tons of options and tons of customization, we're going to go through in a second, that makes this unit be able to pack way more of a punch than you would normally expect from a battle line unit. Now, they've also got the rule, being able to spread affliction at range is a great ability to have. One of the hardest bits sometimes for this army is affliction is the most important rule for Death Guard. It's so important. -1 toughness, -1 save is such a massive damage increase into most targets in the game that it's very important to get it where it needs to be. Now, before, we had to use a Hellbrute to do this in the index, and a Hellbrute isn't very good at the time, and it was expensive. Now, Plague Marines can shoot a single gun, hit once, and now that target is afflicted. So these guys can be really good at making sure that if you've been screened out, and you've been move blocked, and you're not going to be able to get there naturally by movement, you can still put a bolter or, blight launch down range, and make sure the priority target that you want to kill is afflicted. Really, really good. And the other great thing about Plague Marines is the access to character support. We have tons of character options that can join Plague Marines. Some of them are questionable. Some of them are getting the bin tier. However, quite a few of them are damn amazing. Like, real good. We'll talk about them soon. Biologist Putrefire, Malignant Playcaster. Amazing units. Foul Blight Spawn, amazing. Even Lord of Poxes has a place. So being able to pick and customize your squads to get these certain buffs from these characters and decide whether you want to like enhance the squad with an extra character, it's optional. Honestly, you don't need to do it, but having the access to do so can really let you fine-tune this unit's role in your army, whether you want it to be like this smashy kill everything unit, or if you want it to be cheap and cheerful and just flip objectives. Really, really good that they have the access to amazing characters to change your needs on your role for this unit. Let's talk about some weaknesses. It is still a 2 wound 3 up save Marine. Toughness 6 is nice, but it's not going to save you versus stuff like, you know, Hell Blasters. They're just going to kill your weight of dice with really good AP. You don't have an invulnerable, so you are just relying on that 3 up save and the fact that you've got 2 wounds. However, in a game where Marines are really good at the moment, which is the case, everyone is packing guns to kill Marines, so lots of damage to weapons. Now, the advantage you have is that the Strength 5 and Strength 6 damage to weapons that are normally used to kill normal Marines pretty effectively because you win on 3s aren't going to be as effective against you because they're going to be winning you on 5s or 4s at best. But you still got to be aware of the things like I said, Plasma, that's still going to wound you on 3s with a lot of AP and kill a guy every time. So just be aware, in a game where everyone's trying to kill Marines, you are a Marine. You are a tougher Marine, but you are a Marine. So do bear that in mind. You're also kind of slow. You only move 5, you have no access to assault, you have no access to advance and charge. You are slow as they come. You are not the fastest boy. But again, it's not too bad because we have a lot more impact in our shooting options for Plague Marines now, whereas before you kind of just use them for melee most of the time. Shooting options are now very good for Plague Marines, so it's not the worst thing in the world, and we do have access to things like transports and rhinos, which do feel absolutely mandatory at the moment. A walking Plague Marine is a dead Plague Marine. Please don't do it. Take your rhinos, they're very, very important. And yeah, you just need to understand that this is not a unit that's going to flip from one side of the board to the other. It doesn't have a 12-inch move. It can't advance and charge, advance and assault. But it is a slow and steady unit, which means you have to plan out turns ahead where this unit wants to be, what it wants to be doing, why is it in that area of the board. And we're going to cover them at the end of the video. So don't worry, we'll get there. Now, they are also kind of expensive when you tool them up. Bare bones, they're actually pretty cheap for what you get. Like 95 points for Plague Marines is pretty damn cheap. You get load special weapons, you get OC2, T6 Marine. Excellent. When you add everything to it, though, you take it to that big squad size, so it's now 190 points. Then you got to bring the Rhino along, so that's 85 points. But then you want to bring those characters. You want to bring a Putrefier and a Playcast. That's another 110 points there. Now, this unit is packing near 400 points. Now, don't get me wrong, this unit is capable of pulling its weight at 400 points. However, it's very expensive when it's tooled up, and that means you as a player have to be careful. And that's the bottom bullet point. It's very tricky for you to maximize plays. The Plague Marine's biggest weakness is that it is harder to use than our other options currently. Death Shroud can rely on the bulk. They have a 4-up invulnerable, 4 wounds, T7. Blight Lords even have the bulk. Plague Marines don't. Vehicle skews, they can rely on the fact they're all vehicles, high toughness, got invulnerables, etc. Marines don't. Marines are the squishiest thing we have, relative to points anyway, like Poxwalkers and stuff are dirt cheap. Don't worry about that. But they're also capable at the same time of doing so much more than those guys. This is a unit that can genuinely shoot 2 units to death, charge and kill a 3rd unit. Nothing else can do that in our army. However, all those other units are much better at staying alive and taking hits than the Plague Marines. So it's tricky for you to maximize plays, and it is rewarding though. I will say that it's a very rewarding experience. When I play my 30 Plague Marine list, and then I went this week, and I took the Mortarian's Hammer Vehicle spam, I turned my brain off. I didn't need to even think. I literally just put vehicles, like, duh. It wasn't rewarding. When I was using the Plague Marines, I felt much clever, much more smart. I was making important decisions. And I felt like I was getting better as a player because I'm having to think more. I think like that's what I really enjoyed about the Plague Marine build. But do be aware, if you're gonna go with the Plague Marine route, you gotta practice your Plague Marines. You gotta understand you're gonna mess up. You're gonna lose them sometimes. Don't be disheartened. It's just a misplay. Learn from it. They're tricky to use, but when you get hang of it, they're really, really powerful. So what are the roles of Plague Marines? They're very versatile. That's the main thing, really. This is a unit that is, I call it so everyone knows a Swiss Army knife. It's like a little tool with a load of different things on it. Like scissors, you know, little like a blade, a little corkscrew thing. They're kind of like that. However, whereas you buy a Swiss Army knife and it has all those bits on it, you can choose what every single bit on this is. So if you want a Swiss Army knife of 5 knives, you can do that. If you want 5 corkscrews, you can do that. You want 2 corkscrews, a scissors, and a knife? Sure. The ability to customize the squad for different roles is what makes this unit amazing. And we're going to go over some of them. Do not worry. But the one great thing that they're also always useful for is primary. So we talked before how good primary is. You can bring these guys 5-man, bare bones, nothing needed, and just use them to simply flip objectives from your opponent. Your opponent's holding his primary with like 3 OC because of tanks on it. You just walk 5 Marines onto that point, even advance them, charge the vehicle if you can. Doesn't matter if you kill it or not, cool. You're 10 OC. He's not taking that off you. You're getting him denied on that one. Excellent. You can also use them as anchor units. Now, an anchor unit is a unit that basically holds an area of the board and kind of works like, this is my area of the board, come near it and I'll kill you, but you also can't attack me because I have defensive things. In this example, you can put a foul Blight spawn in a big unit of melee Marines, give them fight first. Nobody wants to go near that area because they'll get charged by that unit, but nobody can approach it and charge it itself because it's going to pop fight first and kill you first. Excellent. Then you can also bring the squad as a hammer counterpunch unit. Bring all the guns, all the damage output you can, sit in a rhino in a nice building, just a line ahead of your front lines. And when your opponent commits to maybe try and kill your Demon Prince or Morty or your Death Shroud, this thing drives up, gets out of its guys out the rhino and blasts their most important unit to death and then charges and kills another. Or shoots and kills too. That counterpunch is brutal and when done correctly can completely neuter your opponent's output instantly like that. And also, you can just use them as generic 5-man squads to set things up for Affliction. You're in Death Lord's Chosen, you want to make your opponent roll some more mortal wounds, shoot a unit there, shoot a unit there, there we go, cool, two units of Marines, just put 2 Afflictions out. I've got 3 bloat drones about to shoot, I can't get in range of that guy over there, cool, those 5 Marines, just shoot him first, put him in Affliction, now the bloat drones get all the bonuses. Tons of uses, and this isn't all of them, there's just a couple examples of great use of Plague Marines, and again, why I love them so much, it's all about that versatility, that ability to create a squad that does a role in your army that isn't really shared with any other unit in our army. So, let's talk about War Gear and Loadouts. So, in War Gear and Loadouts, we're going to be looking at some of my suggested loadout themes for the Plague Marines and what their role is going to be. So, let's get into it. Now, before we do, very quickly, weapons. Some of you might be new to the army, and I'm just going to quickly throw this on the screen. It was in the starter guide video as well, but just for those who don't know. In this screen, you can see all the different weapon options on the sprue. Ticks obviously mean these are good weapon options. Blight launchers, plasma guns, and melter guns, great weapon options, take them. Same as the Plague Spear. All these are very meta, very staple, solid weapons that will always find a use. The Plague Belcher competes in its slot against the plasma gun and the melter gun, and it is just not worth it. The plasma gun and the melter gun will do far better for you in your squad, so don't take the Plague Belcher. And bolters are banned. Bolters are banned. Never take a bolter. They're just not good unless you're taking an icon, in which case you have to take a bolter. So if you want to do some leadership shenanigans, do that. But bear in mind, the Affliction spreading rule doesn't require a bolter. You can shoot a plasma gun shot and that'll trigger it as well. Do not bring bolters, even if you sit there and say, oh, I'm making a shooting squad. No, bring heavy plague weapons because on the off chance you get to charge, that one charge will do more damage than 5 rounds of shooting bolt guns at things. Bolt guns are just bad this edition. They're terrible, especially Chaos ones with no AP on them. Naughty. No bolt gun. And on this side, we've got the melee options. All the melee options are genuinely good. Heavy plague weapons are kind of your staple you're going to go for. These are your 2-handed weapons, so the big axe and the flail. Bubonic weapons have less strength, more attacks, but hit on better consistency, but are only 1 damage at less strength. These are still solid. Again, if you want to really mess someone up in close combat, you can take both heavy plague weapons and bubonic and just throw a ton of dice at someone. You'll kill most things you touch. Bubonic weapons are usually the ones where the guys are dual wielding 2 one-handed weapons, so you can have axe and a knife, axe and a mace, mace and a knife, whatever you want. Just make sure it's like dual wielding some form of one-handed weapons. That's bubonic. And then the power fist should always be on your sergeant. It is a heavy plague weapon that hits at the weapon skill of bubonic weapon. There is no competition there. Power fist, just good. Like, always take the power fist on your sergeant. It doesn't even replace his gun, so you're still going to be able to take that. But it's just a quick one for anyone that doesn't understand the weapons, that you can see them all on the screen and understand which one I'm talking about. The only real no-nos are the Plague Belcher and the Bolt Gun. Everything else is fair game at the moment. So, suggested loadouts. So there's a couple on screen right now for you to go through. You got the 5-man squad at the top. Now, this is the squad that I think just does a bit of everything. If you want a squad that's job is to be cheap, be able to deal with multiple things, these are what I was using in my 30-man list. You're going to take a Plasma Sergeant and a Fist on him. So Plasma Gun, Power Fist Sergeant. That's pretty much going to be every Sergeant you always take. You're going to take a Plasma or a Melter Gun. Again, just pick depending on your meta. Is there a lot of tanks? Take a Melter Gun. There's a lot of like Marine Infantry or just normal infantry. Just take Plasma Guns. A Plague Spewer just gives you that really nice D6 shots in case you run into like lots of one-wounded infantry. You can imagine you run into like a bunch of gargoyles. They've only got a 6-up save. He pops out, rolls a 6 on his shots. Excellent. 6 gargoyles pretty much about to die. Well, 5 on average. But again, cool. You just killed 5 crappy infantry straight there. Easy. The Blight Launcher is just a good solid weapon. Strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage with blast and D3 shots. Can kill a couple Marines. You can shoot it into big hordes and get that blast bonus. So, you know, again, you shoot those 10 gargoyles. Now it's D3 plus 2 shots, so that guy can get technically 5 shots. And if the Plague Spear gets 5 shots and they all hit and wound, there you go. They've killed the entire unit with just those 2 guns. And then we've also got a Heavy Plague Weapon, just a single one, because with that and the Power Fist combined, you've still in this 5-man squad got 6, Strength 8, AP 2/3 if you're in Contagion with -1 save, 2 damage attacks. So you can charge into Marines and know you're probably going to punk about 3 of the models on the charge. The knives might bring down another guy. Great, there's 1 guy left. Excellent. You're going to win that battle next turn. It's just a really nice squad that does a bit of shooting, still has a little bit of melee punch in there just when you need it, and it's just generic all-purpose. And it can always grenade as well, but don't forget grenades on these guys. Everyone's got grenades. Now, the next one we're going to go for the Objective Storming Squad. So this is, we're not caring so much about shooting. Our job is to jump out of a Rhino, charge onto an opponent's point, kill whatever's holding it, or at least weaken it massively if it's like a tank, and then exist. For this, we're going to basically drop some of our guns, and we're going to up some of our melee output. So we're going to take our Plasma Fist Sergeant, as usual, 2 Heavy Plague Weapons, because again, we just want more of that Strength 8, AP 2, 3, 2 damage, and a Buboic Weapon, because we can't take any more Heavy Plague Weapons. The reason we don't double up on Buboic, though, and I like to take a Melter Gun, is because sometimes opponent might be in a transport, even if it's like a Venom, something like that. You at least now have a chance to move behind up to the enemy transport. You can chuck a grenade at it, do 3 mortals, shoot that Melter Gun, maybe a little bit of support from somewhere else. You might pop that transport, the guys now get out, and you can charge it with the melee squad and try and finish them off. Just always having that little thing in there that can potentially hop out, contribute to something. So again, you might not be trying to pop a transport. Maybe there's a predator nearby. You want to charge the objective. Cool, well, I can still string my squad out, so I'm going to get a nice charge off. But I can put that Melter Gun in range and just take a pot shot, because if it connects, D6 plus 2 damage, you might roll the 6 and just be like, bam, 8 damage on your tank, have that. So it's just a nice little bit of flexibility, but the main role for this job is to charge an opponent on an objective, kill what's on it, and again, flip the primary. Don't expect them to survive, that's fine. We just want to keep our opponent's primary down while we keep ours up. Now, we also have a 7-man squad. Now, I like this squad. 7-man's not really common, but I actually like this one in Champions of Contagion as an all-purpose unit. You bring a Playcaster with this squad, generally, because he's going to give them sustained hits, and the reason it's good in Champions of Contagion is because you have the 1 command point, give a squad crit 5s. So they're going to be now crit 5s with sustained because of the Playcaster. This means you can save points on having to bring a Biological Putrefier. It keeps it kind of cheap. You've got a nice mixture of melee and shooting. So we've still got the 9 Power Fist equivalent attacks at 822. We've also then got an extra Blight weapon. So we're going to have 8 attacks at strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage. Or again, 3 if you take -1 save. And all that's going to be crit 5s for a command point and sustained. So that's going to pack a lot of punch for a 7-man squad. But you also have got a nice amount of shooting. You've still got, if you want, double plasma or plasma melter gun, and then you can bring a blight launcher or an optional spewer. They're there. If you want a bit more shooting, drop a bubotic weapon for the spewer and the blight launcher. But it's just a generic, not breaking the bank kind of squad. It's like 185 points. So it's not going the full whammy of like, you know, to 10-man squad plus then another character. But it'll kill most things it comes across for the same amount of points, especially if it's infantry. It'll bully other infantry quite easily. So I do like the squad for that purpose. Now, we've also got the big 10-man. So here I've got 2 suggestions. One being the 10-man anti-melee meta. You're in a meta, there's Emperor's Children everywhere. Blood Angels are coming out the damn wall. They're in the walls. You got Space Wolves running you down. You want a squad that's going to sit there and say, hey, you, good sir, melee, just piss off. then take a 10-man anti-melee squad. So we're going to take a foul blight spawn in this squad to make sure they have the fight first and no one can advance near them. And then you're just going to load this thing up with 2 spewers, because that's going to give you Overwatch threat, because they're going to have the Overwatch, plus the foul blight spawn can Overwatch. You're going to take Plasma Fist Sergeant, because again, you always take that. Then you're going to take 4 heavy plague weapons and 3 bubotic weapons. So this squad will have an on-demand fight first, where it's going to swing the equivalent of 15 power fist attacks, and then follow that up with 12 like bubotic weapon attacks, and then it still has some more melee things. And if you wanted to, you could also go the extra mile, put the biologist Putrefier in here, so that squad is now lethal 5s. Or again, Plaguecaster, if you're in Champions of Contagion, for example, you can put the Plaguecaster in here, and then you can go crit 5 sustained. Or if you're in Champions of Contagion, you can take the second 10-man delete everything squad, and then 1 CP on demand fight first when you need it, because you've got 2 characters in there. But it's just really great in a melee meta where you don't want someone to come near you with that melee threat. You want to just have that great anchor unit that says, if you come near me, I can heroic into you, I can then fight first and kill you and protect my tank or whatever was near me, and I can also just exist on this objective and you can't do anything about it because I've got high OC, you don't, you're a melee unit, you charge me, I'll kill you. Really, really good for that. And last but not least, the 10-man delete everything squad. This wants a biologist Putrefier and a Plaguecaster. These two, they go together beautifully. Lethal on everything. Crit 5s on everything. Sustained hits. Lethal sustained 5s on all shooting and all melee. Magnifique. Bellissimo. It's so good. You get to shoot everything super hard. You get to melee super hard. It's just a great squad that has the capacity to just way spike its output, and as you'll see when we put it in certain detachments, it's going to hit even more harder and just be an absolute annihilator of a unit. This is the squad of most expensive squad, but this is the squad that is, I see a problem I don't want to see anymore, go and delete it. This is the squad. Okay, so we're going to cover some little combos now. We're just going to look at 3 combos. Now, these aren't all the combos available. These are just 3 that I picked out. Some little tricks you can do in certain detachments. Now, if you want to, again, there's more and more combos. If you remember on our Plague Marines, ask me on our Discord. I've got tons of combos to give, but I can't have this video be too long, so I'm going to pick 3 of my little cheeky favorite ones. So, first up, we're going to go into the 1 CP delete god. So, for 1 command point, to make this work, we need, as I mentioned before, the biologist Putrefier and the Plaguecaster. Now, the biologist Putrefier is going to give all the weapons lethal hits and crit 5s. Not only that, he brings along a D6 shot weapon that's blast at strength 7, AP 1 and 2 damage. Now, that's also going to benefit from the crit 5's lethal sustained, because the Plaguecaster's bringing the sustained along, and the Plaguecaster also brings along a really nice flamer weapon, D6 plus 3 shot, strength 6, AP 2, D3 damage a shot. So, in Virulent Vectorum, there is a stratagem called Creeping Blight. For 1 command point, your entire unit of Plague Marines gets full rerolls to hit and wound in the shooting phase. So let me read this out to you. 5 up lethal, sustained, full rerolls to hit and wound. You will reroll anything that is not a 5 or a 6. You will fish because the potential to get an auto wound plus an extra shot is way worth the reroll and the risk of dropping 1 or 2. So please reroll and fish. In this squad, we have 6 plasma shots, 2d3 plus any blast from the Blight launchers, 2d6 spewers, d6 plus blast grenade shots to biologist Putrefier, and d6 plus 3 psychic shots. That is a lot of shooting that can all crit 5s, lethal sustained, power the torrent weapons, of course. You will kill the big scary 20 Necron warrior blob that's apparently unkillable. This one taps it easily. As long as you do a bit of fishing, you get some 5s on those crits, you will one-tap that thing easily, because the Blight launchers are going to have 2d3 plus 8 shots alone, because 4 each on blast. And every single 5 and 6 gives you an additional hit and an auto wound. So you reroll everything. It's very common you'll take 6 plasma shots and hand your opponent 10 saves. I'm not joking, I've done that to tanks all the time. I'm like, cool, here you go, take that. It's super consistent. Full rerolls is crazy, and you can take this up another notch as well. If you want to, take the Overwhelming Generosity stratagem as well. You can have a character pick an enemy unit. Your entire army can reroll any shot amount. So that means in this squad, the 2d3 Blight launcher shots, reroll them if you don't like them. The 2d6 spewer shots, reroll them if you don't like them. D6 blast shots from the Biological Putrefier, reroll it if you roll a 1 or something. D6 plus 3 shots, reroll it. So now you have a consistent amount of shots, consistently high amount of shots, and you get to reroll all hits and wounds whilst critting on 5s with lethal and sustain, and then you reroll all of the wound rolls as well. You will kill God. This is a very, very powerful combo, and it's one of my most favourite ones to run. So if you really want to play Marine that hits like an absolute freight train, check this one out. Okay, up next, Objective Storming Marines. So this is a cool one. We're going to take a lot of Poxies. Now this guy is kind of underrated. He's not the greatest, but in this role, I really, really like him. So he's just going to take a lot of Poxies, because what this guy does is, we're not too fussed about his rule for lone up and all that. Extra contagion range is pretty nice, I won't lie. But what we really care about is the fact he brings 6, weapon skill 2, strength 8, AP 2/3, 2 damage, devastating wound attacks. He also has a 4-up invulnerable and grenades. Excellent. In Champions of Contagion, you can give him access to crit 5s, really nice, and also access to +2 toughness. This is important because he has an invulnerable. If he's with 5 Marines, there's a good chance that he often survives what it tries to kill the Marines, unless they really overcommit to killing them. Because that toughness 8 potential on the Marines makes them take a lot more firepower to bring down, and if you do bring him down, chances are his 4-up invulnerable keeps him alive to swing the next turn as well. That's really good. Now, crit 5s, technically people are going to say that's anti-synergy because you don't get to do, you don't get to do dev wounds if you crit. Yes, true, but honestly the dev wounds is more like a cherry on the cake. We just want to deliver consistent damage, because in a squad of 5 Marines, this is an 170 point unit. In this squad, we have OC11, so even if we don't kill what we're trying to kill fully, we're going to definitely weaken it, and then we're going to at least flip the primary, so that's already good. You loan up 18, so your opponent's not going to be able to get every single gun on them to shoot them off the point that they've just cleared. That can kind of keep them alive a bit harder. Again, we talk about that combined with a T8, combined with the 4-up invulnerable. They're actually not the easiest thing to kill off. Now, in this squad, we have a Power Fist, 2 heavy plague weapons, and 2 bubonic weapons. So for 170 points, you have 15 strength 8, AP 2/3, 2 damage attacks. Marine squads are shitting themselves. They're going to die. Followed by 8 strength 5, AP 2 and 3, damage 1 attacks. In Champions of Contagion, you can also crit 5s on demand, so all those heavy plague weapons and bubonic can punch up into vehicles really nicely. And as we said, it is a toughness 8, 4-up invulnerable on the Lord, 18-inch lone up thing. That's going to require probably more effort to kill than your opponent would like. 170 points to clear an objective of a very tough unit. So you often combine this with a bare bones 5-man. So what you do is the bare bones 5-man goes in first, kills off like the scouts, whatever cheap rubbish unit your opponent was using to hold it. Your opponent then strikes back, kills your 5-man squad, and puts an actual okay unit onto the point to hold it, because you've killed this cheap skirmishing stuff. Then this guy comes out of the second wave and goes and kills the actual kind of expensive unit, and now he's even harder to remove because the thing that was used to remove the previous squad is now dead. It requires overcommitment to kill him. He's also got the Lone Up 18 for his squad. They can on-demand the toughness 8 at this point, and it's a good chance he lives, and then he can go and punch something else. And also, let's not forget, this squad still has a plasma gun, and it still has a plasma pistol. So you can walk up to a transport grenade, maybe you spike real high, maybe you drop it to like 2 wounds because you shot it with someone else. Yeah, I'm considering overcharging all that stuff and trying to pop it, and I'll charge the contents. So don't forget about that. But the main point is, for 170 points, we're getting 15 Power Fist attacks, and then 8 Power Weapon attacks. Like, what? That's mental. That is mental. Like, other armies wish they had that many attacks of this quality, especially when it's AP3 in their army. So it's really, really good. Doesn't break the bank. Cheap. Can trade it away. It's fine. And he just packs such a punch for its little price package. Really like this one. And then the last one we're going to look at today is what we call the Trap and Whack. So the Trap and Whack it's actually a Taliban of Nurgle thing. And basically, we're using Maya Slick, which is 1 command point. When an opponent tries to fall back, they're going to take a leadership test to fall back. If they fail this, they can't fall back. They're stuck in combat. Then they have another stratagem where a Death Guard unit is in close combat with an enemy unit that is also an engagement of a demon unit. And the Death Guard unit can get full rolls to hit. So in our Marine squad, we can have heavy plague weapons. Heavy plague weapons' biggest problem is they hit on 4s. bit unreliable, not the greatest. We really want to give that rerolls if possible. Hint, hint. We can also take an Icon of Despair, which gives us a nice 6-inch aura of -1 leadership. You might be able to see where this is going. So the idea is that we multi-charge something like a 10-man guard squad, something not great. Nurglings and Plague Marines. 10 Plague Marines can charge some guardsmen, but before they go in, I'm going to charge with the Nurglings. I'm going to block off a lot of the space so that basically only 1 or 2 Plague Marines can actually base the enemy unit. Then, what we're going to do is we'll then charge our Plague Marines in a way that we self-move block. If you don't know what self-move blocking is, go and check the Fetid Fight Phase videos. We've got a video all about it. So that we can only get 1 Plague Marine to swing, because we're trying to not kill the guards and we don't want to kill them. Then, what we're going to do, the Nurglings, we're going to just help the Plague Marines survive because they're giving the guardsmen -1 to hit. Again, we don't really care about guardsmen, but it's just an example. But we're going to use our unreliable weapon skill 4 weapon as well. So you go in with a heavy plague weapon, try and get that up front because he hits on 4s, 3 attacks, chances are maybe you kill 2 guardsmen. And then you're going to consolidate and grab the guardsmen. The Plague Marines, sorry, the Nurglings will then do the same. Maybe they kill a guardsman or 2. Again, they consolidate. Just all we care about is that both our squads are touching the guardsmen at the end. The guardsmen are alive. We've purposefully kept them alive. We don't want to kill them. Then, in our opponent's turn, they come to, basically, they've moved their tanks to shoot your Plague Marines. They're going to get ready to fall back those guardsmen. And now you're going to spring the trap. You're going to use Maya Slick. You're going to say, hey, you're going to take a leadership test. And because that icon's in that Plague Marine squad, it's going to be at -1. And if you fail it, those guardsmen aren't going anywhere. And that's going to put those guardsmen to leadership 8. It's pretty good odds they fail that. And if they fail that, that can genuinely win you games. Because now, your Plague Marines can't be shot. They're in close combat near your opponent's lines. Your opponent's just moved to shoot them. That shooting is now going to be wasted. And you basically, then in your opponent's fight phase, then you actually pile in your Marines properly, kill that unit of guardsmen, and now, in your turn, you are free to go and punch a tank. So we trapped them in our turn. In their opponent's turn, they tried to fall back. We use the command point. We trap them again, so they can't escape. We then whack them. And again, you can use the, if you want to guarantee get yourself out of a combat. So again, maybe you've wrapped a Rhino or something like that. You want, I don't think it works on vehicles, but still. If you wrapped, you know, something that you don't want, you need to kill. So you're a bit unsure. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can actually kill these, 20 gaunts or something to get out of this combat. You can then pay the 1 CP to get 4 rolls to hit. So now you can guarantee you're going to whack out of that combat. Kill yourself free, and then go and charge something else with both the Nurglings and the Marines. And again, when you get into that tank, that Lehman Russ, for example, then you can use the same stratagem to give 4 rolls to hit and have your squad kill that Lehman Russ. So it's just a way to basically use this combination of units and stratagems to keep your unit safe. If you can't be shot in your opponent's turn, and then when you get into something actually juicy from using the trap, you then go and whack it real hard with the combination of the rerolls all hit to offset the kind of awful weapon skill 4 from your Plague Marines. So yeah, it's a cool little trick. You pull it off, it's really impactful in the game. Needs a little bit of setup to do, but it can be really, really rewarding. So these are just 3 little combos. Again, there's tons more. You can do like Plague Surgeon, Foul Blight Spawn in Champions of Contagion with Needle of Nurgle to hold primary and then resurrect onto the primary behind a wall. Loads of little tricks like that. Again, if you're interested in learning even more things, come and join the excellent community we have. We're always talking about stuff like this. But for now, I want to actually spend the last bit of the video showing you about deploying Plague Marines, positioning of Plague Marines, and where you should be looking to stage your Plague Marines and the sort of tricks you can do in the movement phase. And we're going to use Tabletop Simulator to do this. So I will see you all on TTS in a second. And yeah, we'll basically go through where to deploy, where you should be looking at, when to send out the Plague Marines, and just little scenarios that make you be able to see the use of Plague Marines and how to get the most out of them. Because I think a lot of people, some of the biggest mistakes we see with Plague Marines are people just wasting them or committing too early. So yeah, I'll see you in TTS in a second. Hey guys, welcome to the sort of TTS. So this is Tabletop Simulator that you can see on the screen here. So this is going to be an easy way for me to show you some ideas for deployment and where you should be looking to how to use your Plague Marines. So on this example, we're going to be using GW terrain. We're also going to be on the search and destroy deployment type. That's what these lines here you can see. You can see there's a nice little search and destroy marked out for us. And I'm just going to show you quick, simple ways to sort of deploy your army and where it should be. So in this scenario, we've got Going to have 2 Death Guard Rhinos. The first one is going to have the 10-man kill god squad in it. So this is the extremely heavy hitting lethal sustained 5s combo in here. So that's going to be wanted to place somewhere that's going to have a nice battle impact. And the second Rhino over here, I've got 2 5-man squads, one with the Lord of Poxes. So we have the Objective Stormers at the top here. That's the full melee squad. And down here we have the 5-man Barebone squad. Now, if we look at this deployment here, we're also going to just load in some friends for us very quickly. So we're going to load in some Blood Angels. There we go. So let's take these Blood Angels here, and let's just say, in our deployment, they drop their little infiltrate boys on this objective here. It's quite a common thing for people to do. They'll just infiltrate some objectives there, so they can hold that from turn 1. Obviously, the guy there wouldn't be visible, but again, bear with me, we're not going to take 5 years to make sure everything's perfectly neat. Now, when you're deploying your Rhinos, maybe your opponent got first drop, you wanted to drop some Poxwalkers there, but you haven't been able to. So, we know on this map, what is the easiest objective to defend and attack? Well, this one up here is probably more defendable for us because we have the wall to sit behind. Whereas over here, we can't really defend it quite easily. So that is the one we're going to plan to attack. We're going to plan to attack this one here of our opponents. But we know a lot of the combat is going to either happen with them up here trying to get us off ours, or around the center if we can force interactions. So knowing this knowledge, I'm going to get my Rhino that has the 5-man disruption unit, and I'm going to deploy him just right here. So he can't get shot pretty safely because the angles just aren't great. Nothing's going to be able to get down here to shoot him. If they've got really fast, just be careful that someone could get down there and shoot him. But again, if you really are worried, you can just, tuck him in a little bit more, maybe play a little safer. Don't go here, though, because you'll get shot from down that angle. But it's very rare that someone will be able to get down. He's like Eldar. Now, that's going to be our 5-man squads. Now, our big 10-man Rhino kind of want to sit center to the board. So you can deploy him fairly safely there. Again, just be careful when he turn 1 charges, but you can obviously put a Poxwalker screen here to infiltrate and keep him safe. But the reason we're doing is this spot here has the most impact on the game. So let's say our opponent has put, I don't know, like a Vindicator, which is quite common. You might put a Vindicator like that up there, ready to come out and shoot. He's got another Vindicator like down here, waiting to pop out and shoot. Because you bear in mind, you can move through these little ruins here. So this one and this one can be moved through. Maybe it's like Ballistus Dreadnought, something, just something like this in general. You can, for example, if you have a Demon Prince, maybe you're playing Virulent Vectorum, you can have him tow onto here, maybe have some Poxwalkers behind the wall, and then when your opponent has to get within 12 to shoot him, that means they have to be, like, here. This guy drives down to here. This one can, like, drive through the wall or something to, like, here. Like, they're going to be able to shoot him pretty easily, and you might lose your Demon Prince. But the main thing is, we want to make sure that on our first turn, we've got this Rhino in a good staging position like this. Because here, your Rhino, I'm just going to turn off the deployments very quickly. There we go. Show deployment zones off, please. There we go. So your Rhino here cannot be shot from this side because you're nicely hidden. But what you can do is in your turn, if this happens, your opponent aggresses on your Demon Prince and tries to kill him, you can then disembark your Plague Marines out into the open, over here, like this, for example. You just hop out here, and you can guarantee kill both of these units here. So you get a really good counter-strike from that. We kill both Vindicators here, we can even charge one if we want to, and God forbid our opponents put anything up here, we can charge that as well. Now, let's say your opponent's not a fool and doesn't fall for the trap. So they're not going to go and walk in there. Well, this position still gives us plenty of options. So, for example, I'm just going to put its movement on very quickly. Movement. This Rhino can also drive out to 9 inches to there. And you can still go 3 inches to here. And you can still disembark another 3 inches. So you can get out to here. So if anyone's trying to hide in this angle here, you can still get impact and shoot them. Now, bear in mind, you can move straight through that wall. So if you actually parked a bit closer, you can go 4 inches to just clear it. Then you go 8 inches up like that. And same deal. You can hop out here, shoot into anything that's like hiding in this ruin. You can also obviously just get out 8 inches from the Rhino and charge through the other side. Throw a Rhino around, apologies. So if you come 8 inches out from here, you can get to here. So then anything that's in here is now at risk of being charged by your Plague Marines. But at the same time, if you keep it a bit more like that, because you're not sure where your opponent's committing to yet, if your opponent plays down this side like this, same principle. You come 6 forward to there, and then you can easily go 6 across this way, hop out your Plague Marines to here, and then they can blast anything that's here, on this objective, down here. So you can see that this spot here for your really scary killy rhino is almost a perfect spot because it gives you the ability to interact in this lane here, and this lane down here. Now, on the flip side, our objective steely rhino, we're looking for a staging point that's going to keep him relatively safe and allow him to do his job of denying opponent's primary. So we don't want to do this. We don't want to come driving up the side here, because then we run the risk of this Vindicator going here and shooting him and killing it. And then all the guys have to get out and get killed. Instead, just use your movement. Again, let me just put this on. And just tuck in here. That's all I want to do. Just tuck in here nicely. Now what this means is, our opponent's scouts are here. What we can do now is we can literally have our 5-man squad. We've lost them. There they are over here. We have our 5-man bare bones squad in their turn can hop out and move 8 inches. So that's plenty enough to get us onto the objective. So let's grab those guys and put them on here. So they've come out. Now, we took the objective already, but obviously you can then follow this up with a charge if you want to. You can have like a 6-inch charge into these guys. They'll easily kill that squad, and then you just consolidate back onto the point. Or behind the wall, for example. At this point, your opponent's lost primary for a turn. Now, we still have another 5-man squad and a Lord in here. So let's say your opponent needs to now deal with this. Now, for an opponent to deal with that, it's not the easiest thing to kill. Due to them being like toughness 6 Marines. They can't just send another squad of scouts. So maybe they had some Sanguinary Guard and a captain here. They now either need to shoot you off, which again doesn't really help them because they're not on the objective at that point. You kind of like, even if they shoot you off, they don't hold the objective. So what you really want to do is after you consolidate or after you charge, try and move block the objective by like taking the edges. So like they can't move onto it. So they'll have to charge onto it. So they're going to send these Sanguinary Guard in. They're going to come flying up behind this ruin here, and then they're going to charge into you. I'm just going to get rid of the scout second. That's fine, because you're going to lose these Plague Marines. So these Sanguinary Guard come in, they kill them all. You know, obviously this is very rough, just to obviously keep pace and speed. I just accidentally deleted them. So, yes, we know. So, this squad of Sanguinary Guard comes in and kills your Plague Marines. Now, at this point, that's actually fine. So, these Plague Marines are dead. They're gone. Because, again, we have this second squad in here, which at this point will now do the exact same thing, but this time we're going to go into the Sanguinary Guard with the much heavier hitting Lord of Pox full melee objective stormers unit. So this unit again hops out, it's 8, you can shoot your plasma guns, maybe chuck a cheeky grenade if you want to, and they can charge, and once again, they're going to kill this squad. And once again, because of that high OC, even if they had, like, for example, a Vindicator or something was parked behind here, I don't know why it would be parked there, but maybe it was something else, you know, maybe it's an Impulsor, it was parked here. That 3 OC, if you were using Death Shroud here, and you were using 3 Death Shroud, or this 4 OC, whatever it is, you wouldn't actually take this objective even if you kill these, because the OC from this Vindicator or this tank, whatever it is going to keep you neutralized. They might not hold it, you might be 3 to 3, but if they're, you know, 4, for example, then they're going to hold it. The great thing about having Plague Marines instead of Death Shroud is you have that OC 10. So if you come in here, you kill this squad, maybe even the captain survives, maybe the captain swings back and kills 1, 2, 3 Marines, quite lucky. You've still got 5 OC on here. Is that still enough to neutralize this quite easily? Now, it's very unlikely that they survive that, I'll be honest with you. So that there is a great way to sort of use this. Now, you can do what's called the Uber technique as well, which is where we have the same principle what we're doing. So we're going to have the exact same scenario, but maybe your opponent has a bit more ability to out-trash you, or they have more trade and they put a lot more things on it. Maybe they've got 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard. You can have 1 Rhino and have 15 Marines. And all you're going to do is, so again, we start the Marines inside the Rhino. So we've got 10 Marines in there. We're then going to get a bare bones 5-man. So let's put our deployment zones just here. That's where it is, on the quarter. We're going to have another 5-man just hanging around the Rhino. Very tight to it, just so we don't get shot turn 1. We're just going to make sure nice and tight against this Rhino. So again, always check your firing lanes. So, yep, you're okay. No one's going to shoot down there. You're fine. So, you can have this Rhino do its thing from the get-go. So he moves into there. The 5 Marines can move in behind him. So if you got first turn, this is even easier, because you just got 5 and you go in here and hide behind your Rhino. Now what you can do is you can launch out the first squad of 5 Marines onto the point to flip it off the scouts, whatever it was. These 5 can then re-embark in the slots that's just been left, and then they can do the same thing going forward. Now, if your opponent's been really aggressive, you can even do the same thing where you can straight off the bat jump out your 8 Marines, 8 inches. You know, maybe they just want to go and just shoot something. Maybe you put some scouts here. You can hop out your 8 and go charge them. You can immediately get in the second 5-man squad and then drive to the staging point. Now, one thing I see a lot of people make mistakes with Plague Marines is they rely on this sort of 8-inch disembark and forget that rhinos can move and disembark. Obviously, you can't charge, but being able to shoot is still a massive benefit. So, if you're against an army that has quite a bit of shooting, you can even park here, because bear in mind, this can't be shot. This is the angle they have to take, very close. And this spot here, let's say you have an opponent that has the, this is what we're after, Blade Guard squad. So 6 Blade Guard with a Judiciaire. These are a fight first, extremely scary melee squad. They're going to sit on this objective. Once I stop messing them all up, there we go. So they're going to sit on this objective here, which is obviously extremely powerful and extremely scary. Now, if you try and do the, I don't know how I keep throwing these models around. If you try and do the old trick of, you can still obviously out OC the squad. So let's have this 5-man squad can just, again, this is the good thing about Plague Marines. The OC is massive. These guys can disembark their 8, so you just go 8 from there. You can even, at this point, 8 gets a guy, maybe 2 on. We just want to make sure we definitely flip this. We aren't going to charge the fight first Blade Guard squad, just advance them onto the point. 95 points, even if they don't kill anything, if they just flip this objective for a turn, that's fine. But one thing people don't do is, if you come out to here like this, and this squad of Blade Guard just decides, nah, I'm going to hold here, because people aren't used to Plague Marine shooting, really, I'll be honest with you. You can instead then, rather than doing the whole go for a charge, just drive this thing straight up, 12, to here, disembark your squad, and then shoot the crap out of them. You can get Marines on the point here, so again, we can get this squad here. You've still got a squad in the Rhino, so the Rhino can shoot as well. Right, it can see a guy, which at the moment it can't. Obviously, you can just tilt it round so if it's RC and a tip of a guy, or move it a bit more upwards. But you can have this squad get out, if it's 3 inches, and then they have still done the same objective as before. They've still flipped the objective, but now you're also going to be able to chuck a grenade, shoot some guns. Rhino can help out with the round, give them full rerolls to wound. You can give this squad its Virulent Vectorum, full rerolls to hit and wound. You can do a lot of damage with your shooting because you can just move your Rhino and disembark. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people are just used to sitting them here and just playing like that. Now, another thing you can do, and this is a great one, if you're on a map where, let's say for some weird reason, that doesn't exist there, and this terrain feature for some reason is more far back. Say this lip isn't here. If you ever find yourself in a game where you're going to look at a neutral game state, so this is the game state where if you both sit there, no one can really interact. There are some maps that are just terrible and have massive spaces between naturals. So your opponent sits his fight first squad on here. You sit your fight first squad on here, Plague Marines. Maybe you got like, you know, Foul Blight spawn, etc. Don't be afraid to use Rhinos and Plague Marines in reserves. All you have to do is buy space for them. So if you put 10 Poxwalkers in here, for example, the opponent doesn't really have a reason to come and kill them. They're not doing much. They're just existing, but your opponent doesn't really have to come and kill them. They can't take the objective because they're too slow. Like on an advance, they need to get a couple of guys, and if that's a decent OC squad, they're not going to take it. But what they do is they buy you space. And if you keep a Rhino in reserves, never forget you can rapid ingress stuff like Rhinos, just normal things in reserves. So if you're in a game where it looks like your opponent's not going to push into the middle, maybe you've got 2 of the super killy death Rhinos, maybe you've just got the 1. But if you look at it and you go, okay, I can happily know if my opponent pushes into me, they die, but if I push into them, I die. So we're both going to sit on our sides of the board. 1 rapid ingress Rhino with a 10 Marine squad can crack the game right open, because if your opponent just lets you have these Poxwalkers here while they sit there in primary, turn 2, you rapid ingress like that. And then you have a 12-inch drive and disembark. So you now go, cool, we're going to drive 12 forward to here. We're going to disembark the big squad of 10 Marines onto the point. We're going up. This works with Plague Bus as well, for people who don't know, the double malignant plague caster in a Rhino. This comes in. This now shoots the squad that's on this objective with full rerolls to hit and wound if you're in Virulent Vectorum, or full rerolls to wound lethal 5, Champions of Contagion, for example. You kill that entire squad. The game has now flipped completely. The neutral game is broken at this point. Now your opponent has to start interacting with you. People don't use rapid ingress Rhinos enough at all, in my opinion. And I think It's a really good trick if you know you're against, especially if you're against a defensive player. They really don't like having someone this fast come on because we're so used to, you know, watching out for like Death Shroud and things like that. So they might put infiltrators here and just think, okay, I've got infiltrators. Death Shroud can't come within 12. I'm totally safe. This guy can show up 12 away and then drive 12 right 1 inch away from you, then shoot you. Like, so don't knock the power of a rapid ingressing Rhino here. But yeah, so to go back to the start here, let's get the deployment zones back on. So again, we're on our quarters deployment here. So again, great place for the sort of killy hammer want to shoot every Rhino is up here. Because again, it lets you get these different angles of attack, lets you be reactive. And if your opponent's quite passive, you can instead just stage here and get ready to react the next turn. If they're very aggressive, it gives you the ability to react this way over here, or this way over here. So you can react there, react there. So it's really good there. And for your attacking primary, this guy is this space here was almost made for him. Or you can go here if you want to be a bit more aggressive and go for like a big shooty play. But if you just got the 5-mans to keep jumping out every turn, you can go here. Because it also gives you the flexibility of, if your opponent tries to do the same trick on the middle, you still, you know, you can still easily get from this wall. It's just a 1 inch advance will get you to that middle objective. So if anything's on that, you can obviously just go for a charge instead, shoot. But if you want to just put OC on it to flip it, you're a 1 inch advance off getting into that objective and putting 10 OC on it again, which is really good. So these are your two sort of natural spots here. I don't really recommend going up here like this, because this Rhino just ends up, so you know, you start here, you're driving here, because this Rhino just kind of ends up getting trapped. If you play Mortarian's Hammer, obviously you can bust through the wall, which is really good. But if you're playing anything else, this Rhino's only angle of attack now is like out here and forward, which is, it's okay. I mean, you can't even clear this realistically, so like that. It's just not a good spot for this Rhino to be in. Like, this isn't where I want to be putting a Rhino, especially when I could just go here instead and still get the same result by going like 12 down this way, dropping guys out, or 12 clean through the wall up that way, up here. So just bear that in mind. That's a position that I don't naturally like with my Rhinos. Now, that being said, though, there is something to be said for this play as well. It doesn't really involve Rhinos, this. It's just involving your Marines. So we're going to take a Plague Surgeon, and I'm not going to recommend a Plague Surgeon, but if you're out there and you're a Champions of Contagion fanboy and you want to make this work, then we can do this. So you have a Foul Blight Spawn and a Plague Surgeon and 10 Plague Marines to go with. So this is a trick you can do with Plague Marines with the 10 squad in the Foul Blight Spawn and the Plague Surgeon. So your first turn, you're going to move up into this middle point here, so obviously deployed behind your line here, but all you want to do really is make sure that your Plague Surgeon is near the front-ish, and you want to have the best melee weapons you've got all against the wall, pretty much. You want to have all your heavy melee weapons up at the front. Again, just imagine these are heavy melee weapons, not one for one, but just imagine they are. God, I hate TTS. It's so much better play on the table. But I don't have all the terrain set, so I can't really show you that accurately unless I go to a shop, which, again, we are working on with the cameras and stuff. We've just got to find a space to do it. So what you want to do is you want to put 2 guys, preferably your flamers. We've got a flamer guy. We do have flamer guys. There you go. Through the wall onto the center objective here. So I have put 4 OC onto this middle bit, and it is both flamers. Do not put the Foul Blight Spawn through the wall. Plague Surgeon can sit back. Everyone else can sort of sit back. All we care about is our melee weapons are at the front of this squad as much as we can fit while being safe from being shot. We want to put 2 spewers out the front. So what this does is this creates a game state of our opponent where right now we have 4 OC on this middle point, and they're both flamers as well, which is nice. So if our opponent has 5 scouts, for example, they can potentially run them out. But if a single scout or maybe 2 scouts dies, and bear in mind chances are they'll be in contagion because of how tight this is, you overwatch them. If you kill 2, you will still hold this primary. So they can't just send out some scouts onto here to try and stop you. Which means they're probably going to have to expose something to shoot you. So they bring something out to shoot you. Now, if your opponent brings out a lot of things to shoot because they want to kill this squad, the second the first thing shoots, the first models I want you to kill are these 2 here. Because then, you are now fully behind the terrain. Look, nothing can see you. So this Vindicator shot killed like 4 guys. Maybe he's killed, 4. Let's kill that guy and that guy as well. Sure, we killed these 4. Nothing else can shoot you. This Redemptor came out, nothing there. Again, remember that's obscured there. You can't see through that gap. So at this point, you're like, cool. And then because your opponent was planning to shoot you off it, they've not put any scouts out. So in your turn, if you've got the Needle of Nurgle, for example, in your turn, you then get to do your little Needle and Nurgle. So let's see how many guys. And again, if it's a normal Plague Surgeon, you can resurrect 1. But if it's Needle and Nurgle, you can resurrect D3. See how many we get. So we're going to get 2 guys back. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get those 2 guys back. Now, remember, when these guys resurrect, they just have to be within coherency of the squad. So you could put them back here, you could put them back here. Or instead, you could put them exactly back where they were. And because this happens in the command phase, and we score primary at the end of the command phase, well, we now come to the end of the command phase and, oh look, I've got 4 OC on this objective. I actually control it. So I actually score this primary. So I can have this moment here where I have these guys here who are just going to keep resurrecting onto the point and scoring primary unless my opponent puts a unit out onto it. But if my opponent puts a weak unit out onto it, I've got 2 nasty flamers to overwatch with. Can potentially kill them. And again, 4 OC is not the easiest thing to beat in the world. And then, here's the opposite thing that happens. So you're thinking, okay, so what if they send something extremely scary, like all the Blade Guard, for example? Well, again, you've got a foul Blight spawn in there, so you actually can fight first. So this squad of Blade Guard, now you might not kill 6 Blade Guard, because 6 Blade Guard is a fucking scary unit, but at the same time, these guys hop out, you know, maybe you overwatch, maybe you kill one on an overwatch, that'd be quite nice. Let's say we get one of the guys, because maybe, you know, we put 4 up invulnerables, we do 7 shots on average, we put 6 wounds, that says about 3 failed saves, so on average kills a Blade Guard. They charge in with their squad, they all come in, but then you activate your fight first. You can then come through the wall with your 3-inch piling, consolidate, or mind, you can fight an inch through the wall. That's why it's important to have your heavy melee weapons at the front. So you then come through like this, because you've activated your once per game fight first from the foul Blight spawn. You come all the way through the wall, like this, like this. Now bear in mind, this can also be done if you're in Champions of Contagion without a foul Blight spawn, because if you have 2 characters in here, you have 1 CP fight first. Again, just like that, like that. So not everyone will probably get to fight, but you'll be able to get a fair few in. Just try and keep your best melee weapons to the front, so actually probably have your Surgeon closer than your foul Blight spawn, because he has actually got a good melee weapon. So you just come out like this as much as you can. You fight first here in this scenario. So let's say we've got our full melee weapon squad. We've got the, you know, the objective anti-melee defense squad. So that's going to be, let's say we've got the 12 heavy plague weapons, because we've got 4 of those. 3, 6, 9, 12. Now, we can, again, if you're in Champions of Contagion, you could potentially pay 2 CP for 4 rolls to hit and wound here, if you wanted to. You could also just pay crit 5s. If you've got a Bios Putrefier or a Playcaster in there, you can have all that goodness going on. So let's say this is quite important, because if I win this fight, straight here, they've now traded up a big unit for absolutely nothing. So I'm actually going to spend 2 CP, because I've done a wound with my Flamers and Overwatch. So again, you might want to tally man in Champions of Contagion. So let's have a look. So I'm hitting you on 4s. Oh, geez, that's a great roll. Reroll any misses. 5 and 6 are lethal hits. So there you go. Cool. They're all lethal straight up. Again, imagine if you had a Playcaster in there or something, that would also be crits. Sorry, they're not lethal because I've not got Bios Putrefier. Wounded them on 2s though. And again, I can reroll everything. I spent 2 CP. So cool. So my opponent, can you take all those invulnerables, please, on your invulns? And cool. So we're going to kill, very good invulnerable set there. So we kill 2 straight up there. Then you get your, like, you know, your Plague Surgeon goes off on it as well. He hits them all. Yeah, he hits them all with lethal. So it's lethal. And then he wounds on 3s with full rolls. So he's wounded everything as well. 4 invulnerables. Getting very lucky in his invulnerables here. But let's say even if we kill, like, 3 of the guys, for example. So, again, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Plus, you've got your biotic weapons as well to swing. So you've got another 8 attacks with the biotic weapons. You can see how this sort of adds up to sort of be quite powerful in terms of like damage. Again, rerolling everything because we've got the ability on. So reroll everything. So drop 1, but we've got a lot of lethals there. Wounded on 3s, rerolling everything. Reroll everything. So he's got to take another amount of 4 invulnerables. For God's sake, 4 invulnerables. But you get the point. You can take a massive chunk out of this unit, because right now he's only got 3 Blade Guard to swing and a Judicar. Obviously, keep your Plague Surgeon out of line of sight of the Judicar, but if they swing back, you know, maybe they kill a couple guys. Let's have a look how much they kill. So they're going to have 8 attacks back here. So let's just quickly do that. 8 attacks. They've probably got oaths on, let's be honest with you. Cool, so they've got all them. They wound you on 3s because they're playing Lazarus Assault Group. So there you go. Take 5 saves at AP2. So, you know, 3 guys die. So then, but then your turn, you resurrect 1 guy back. You can resurrect him onto the point. You've got the high OC. You can see how sort of this goes back and forth. So it's a great way to play a neutral. It's also a great way to hold these objectives that have a lot of empty space, and you can only get like 1 or 2 guys behind a wall. You can put 2 guys out and resurrect onto the point. So I just wanted to show these little things to do with Plague Marines, because Plague Marines are not your frontline troops. They're really not. And people act like they are sometimes, and the problem is they're not tanky enough. You want to find positions where the Plague Marines can always either get a first hit off, or they're doing a job in addition to dealing damage, such as flipping primary. So find your good staging points on your map. So like this one here is a great one. And then use those positions to get advantage over your opponent. Again, keep it flexible so you can come out to here to 8, 4 across, things like this. You want to be able to just attack as many angles as possible. And remember, your big, scary, killy one wants to be in the middle of everything because it can get to as many places as possible. And your objective flipping one wants to be near your opponent's natural, somewhere safe that you can just keep chucking out guys and out OCing and flipping that. So yeah, these are just a few examples of it that we can show really. Obviously, deployment will change, your maps will change. Just always be aware that we're going to do a full video on deployment. This is just a quick trick of how to get the most out of some Plague Marine tactics that you can do. So yeah, just be aware. There's different play styles, different ways to use Plague Marines. You don't even have to bring the hammer unit. Maybe you've just got a single Rhino with 2 5-mans whose entire job in your list is to do this and just go my primary, my primary. Maybe you've just got one big defensive 10-man that just wants to sit on your natural objective over here with fight first, etc. But I just hope these are a few ways to show you how to maybe get some use out of Plague Marines and how to sort of use them in ways that will get results on the tabletop. So I'm going to pass you back to presentation because this video is already probably really long. But yeah, let us know if you enjoyed the sort of TTS examples here, and if you want to see them in the future. So back to tabling. And that brings us to sort of the end of this extremely long video. Sorry for how long it's been, but there is still there's so much to talk about when it comes to Plague Marines and using them, and honestly this still hasn't even covered like nearly half of it, but hopefully it's giving you an idea of how to get use out of Plague Marines, maybe some loadouts you want to try, maybe some combos to look towards, and an idea of how to almost use them with deployment and staging them to try and get the best results out of them. The best teacher is experience, but on the channel we try and do our best to obviously give you guys the extra bit of heads up and the extra bit of preparation for you going into your games. But I hope this allows you to take Plague Marines, get good use out of them, and maximize the potential of them, because I think it's a unit that is underrated, honestly. Like, everyone knows it can do a ton of damage, but all we see at the moment is the 10-mans with, all the bells and whistles, but I still think there's plenty of play in 5-mans and even 7-mans, and I hope this has inspired some people to go and try out more Plague Marine heavy builds, because honestly, they're an absolute blast. So just want to say a quick thank you to everyone that's been on the screen right now, our amazing Death Shroud members who keep the lights on. Also, thank you to our Plague Marines and Blight Lord members as well. You guys are also legends. Thank you so much to our friends over at Vanguard Tactics, Element Games, Saltire Games, who are all our sponsorships and help. And obviously, thank you, the viewer, for watching, for tuning in. If you stuck it out this far, bravo to you, sir. Thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye-bye for now. Stay rotten. Take care. Laters.